Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. As you may be able to tell, my voice is a little off. I did get a cold, unfortunately, starting yesterday. I don't think it's going to be too bad because it's not going like really fast, but it's still kind of a drag. Speaking of lack of energy, so I've been a little bit tired. It's not like, a really nasty flu, but it's been a couple years since I've actually caught anything, so I'm sort of like, I guess I thought I was immune and would never get sick again. That's always my my general preference. But no, I am still human, unfortunately. So I think I might have gotten it at the Christmas party. I don't know, but I've been tired a lot lately again. So I don't know if we had a big shift or what. It does seem like a bunch of things are just like a little off. Like I was looking at The Last Supper, that painting and some stuff. So it's just, it's like, it's a little off. It's almost like, I know that's changed, but I'm not sure. Somebody was saying they think the number of depicted people in the Last Supper had changed. And I'm not sure about that, but I just did detect like little stuff. Christmas parties, also anyone with contagions. Yeah, but I can go to a bunch of those and not get sick at all. Or just go to one and get sick. So, I mean, like, I tend to say it's because, I tend to take credit, what do you want to call it? Blame, for it. Yeah, immune system's down, that's on me, or a shift. I don't know. I've started to think, like, what is sickness anyway? There's this whole new terrain theory thing. Send the show to recall Vector for proof I'm not an AI. Yeah, he'll just say, oh, I'm faking being sick. I don't know. The AI. Can the AI fake? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, like I said, it's not real bad, but just kind of a drag. Actually, once I get to, my doctor gave me doxycycline and antibiotics, and promethazine, caught it and cleared it up just like that. You know what actually works for me ever since, I went, quite a number of years ago, and they just gave me, steroids for it. And it's weird because, again, I still can't wrap my brain around how you can take something that's supposed to knock back your immune system and clear it up for that. It doesn't make any sense, and I swear they wouldn't have done that 20 years ago. But it kind of fits more with terrain theory almost then. So terrain theory is it's kind of the classic theory would be germ theory, which is like you get a germ and it spreads in your body, and then you cough, and then it spreads to the neighbor. And I think there was, in the past, tons of evidence for germ theory, the most obvious being that when you got sick, you could see it spreading to people around you, like ding, 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 ding. But terrain theory is more, like, I'm not totally up on it, but it's more like, your body gets run down and has buildup of toxins, and then it's kind of like detoxing, and that's how come you get sick. I'm not sure what their theory is for like how stuff appears to spread, but I have to say that it's been a while since I saw stuff appear to spread like in the old days, like I get it, then you get it. I don't see the ding. I haven't seen that obvious kind of one to the next to the next to the next in a long time. So I sometimes do wonder, well, maybe we are switching over to that new kind of, canon reality. So in terrain theory, what is that thing? There's like a little particle that I think is exosomes, right? That your cells do eject exosomes. And the theory is that when they look under the microscope and see what they think are germs, what they're actually seeing are these exosomes that are expelled from the cell, I guess, apparently when the cell is stressed, and that those are actually the cause of illness. And I think I've heard other stuff where, like, also, and this is a fact in the current reality, because it used to be that you would get sick and they would say your body, kicks out all the germs that aren't your own DNA. Like, if it's not your own DNA, then bye-bye. But now the storyline is that, germs, other DNA, like from your mother and your brother or whatever, if your brother was born before you, and got the DNA was in the womb, you could get DNA from your brother, from your mother, floating around inside you. Germs apparently don't necessarily get kicked to the curb completely every time. So even that has changed. So if they don't, get kicked to the curb all the time, then why do you suddenly get sick at certain times? And so the theory was more like, when you become imbalanced with all the things in your body, that's when you get sick. Like, you no longer are in balance. And then that's another one I've heard, that then certain germs become out of balance. I don't know. I don't dismiss anything, because I think everything's so crazy. Ashara, you were saying there's no new energy. I mean, and in a lot of ways, I agree. It's like it definitely seems like stuff slowed down. Like, there's new songs. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting jaded, but it just seems like a lot of the new songs aren't very good. Some are, but, you used to be able to get on the radio and listen to a lot of new songs that were pretty good on a regular basis. And I feel like now, the radio itself, even all the stations that I listen to, that I have pre-programmed in, almost every one of them has switched their format to include older songs in certain amounts. Like, one that used to be like from the 90s to now, then had switched to the 80s till now, and then recently has switched to like anything, just like they'll throw some Beatles in there, whatever. And ones that used to be just new songs have switched to a format of 80s till now. Just they're all looking for more stuff, because there's just not enough new songs, and they're not. A lot of it's just on. A lot of it is just like, it's not going through the radio as much. So I go like, what determines the top 10 songs in the country? I think they use a lot of internet stuff now for that. But then if you go and look at the top 10, it's like, 7 of them will really be, I feel like, very amateurish, and low quality. I just don't think that those would have made it in the old days. And it does also kind of seem like the ones that aren't kind of linger longer. There is no energy online, nothing around me. Yeah, I don't, batteries are empty. I feel like that lately. Yeah, I have to say, I don't have the energy I used to have. I mean, I guess it's easy to say, well, you're getting old, but, I have retrieved some of it with, like, new efforts at health and stuff. So, I mean, I went, like, way down, and then I'm some back, but I don't have, the energy I had, and I don't feel like I'm totally healthy. Getting there, though, I'm working on it. So I'm trying to set my mind that this is where we're going, and I do feel like I've made a certain distance there, so there is progress. Yeah, the internet's run over with AI. I agree with you. It's like astroturfing, ridiculous comments, mean comments, rude comments, trolls. Search engines are horrible. They just suck. I just can't believe that Google and them are incapable of making a decent search algorithms anymore. I mean, I hear some lame excuses about people gaming. Maybe they're gaming the Google algorithms, but I mean, they're just trash now. The Google algorithms are trash. You type in your Google search, and then you don't get the words you search for, and then you'll change your words and you'll type it again. You get the same exact results. So, I mean, like, I just can't believe that it's impossible for them to have decent search engine. And even like cheaper search engines like Yandex, They do a better job. They're not, amazing, but they do a better engine. So what's going on? I kind of wonder if this is related to the Mandela, that, you can't find any information because it's all shifty now. Is skewed now to do paid ranking and censorship. See, the thing with paid ranking, that I think so, but everybody do paid ranking on every search engine? Like, there should be. So what happened before, how Google came to the front, is that other search engines had too much of that and were like, and then Google came along and they rocked. They gave you what you wanted, which is your results, properly displayed to you, and everybody just jumped on board with Google, and it was like the holy grail. So why can't another search engine do the same? It just seems weird. Like, if somebody came up with a search engine with high quality results, then everybody would jump on board. But no, there's some that are better, but search engines were far better as recently as 2016. Yeah, and I've actually, I literally could see it going down the tubes year by year. Skewed search is great for social engineering. Yeah, but then like Russian search engine is better, but not much better. And I don't know. It's like we talk about the Overton window, like the goalposts that were normally frame things with on the search engine has shifted like way over. So now like a crappy search engine of the past would now be better than most search engines now. It's just sad. I got a new Emmy. The actress Michelle Leonard from the Waltons is now Michael Lerner. Michelle Leonard. I don't know the Waltons. Michelle Leonard is Michael Lerner. Is that some kind of trans thing, or that's her name, Michael? I mean, in my old days when I was young, there weren't that many names that sounded like a man but women had. So if she's still a she, I'll be a little confused about that. Her name changed 2 years ago to Lerner, L-U, and now she is Lerner, L-E-A-R. I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't know. Both of those names sound vaguely familiar to me, but I don't really know those ones. Yeah, I know. It's just weird because Google used to be based on, let's give them a good service with a reasonable amount of advertising, and then they could charge a lot for the advertising because so many people wanted to use their service. And then they just went the reverse. It's like, we'll be crappy sellouts and have a crappy service. I have been low energy lately, but it has been psychological. I do believe, though, that the two are highly related in many ways, especially now. What your psychological health, I think, determines to a high level your physical health. Okay, so what is up in the world? Doink. Oh, I was going to say, Shari, the one thing that is new is just the weird clown world, like, things online. It's like, I just don't get tired of it. I can't get used to it, I guess. I guess I do get kind of tired of it. Yes, I would say I get tired of it. But just, like, the ridiculous is online where people just, black is white and yes is no and slavery is freedom, and just like genocide is is self-defense. There's another one. And people are not seeing through it. So that would be definitely the one thing that keeps blowing my mind is like, are people really believing this? Are the ones saying this just paid astroturfers? But I do run into people who just nod their head. Yup. Somebody said online that, and I'm going to steal their terminology, but they said some people think in slogans. They basically just heard slogans on TV, slogans on the radio, and then they have these trite responses that they heard, because I've heard them too, so I know these guys didn't think of them on their own, and they just keep repeating those, and I run into these people, and they just have their slogans that they run through. There's things that they heard, and on their free time, they're listening to their side, like radio shows based on their side, and they just listen to the same stuff over and over, and they absorb the latest slogans from their side, and they don't really think about any of that stuff. So, one of the things I like to do is find, if I can, like the vaccine, or the what would you call that? The one question you can ask them that they cannot find an answer to. That, of course, you'll get downvoted to oblivion, but it is very interesting if you can find that. Like, there's no slogan answer. And there's not a lot of these that I've really found, but one that I found is it's gotten really popular in California because Ronald Reagan is known to have ended funding for a lot of the mental health facilities. Okay. So, and I don't agree with that. I do think that's a problem, that he shouldn't have done it. But I went back in the history just to check it out. And first of all, it happened like so many decades ago. So that is issue number one. And I'll say why. The other thing is that, and it went through Congress, the Dems also voted for it, that it was a split, and one of the houses of Congress was Democrat controlled, but they still voted for it. So that's issue one. The Dems also voted for it. So you can't blame wholly on Republicans. And issue two was, it was so many decades ago, if the Dems really disagreed with it, they could have reversed it long ago. And they never did, even though they had lots of times when they had complete power. So when I hear that thing, oh, Ronald Reagan, I always say, well, the Dems voted for it too. And the Dems had decades to reverse it, and they didn't. So you can't blame it wholly on Ronald Reagan. You can't go back decades and decades ago and just say Ronald Reagan did it, like it can't be undone, like you could have never shifted, And every time I say that, they have no answer. I have yet to ever hear a single answer from that. I do get downvoted. So I just love using that one because it's like I force them to think. And it's not that I think Republicans don't have slogans that I can torpedo. I guess that's a good word for it. But I feel like if I can find the magic argument, because I don't want to argue on and on and on about slogans. So if it's not a torpedo power argument, then I don't feel like it does that much. As long as they have a slogan to return any argument I have, then we're just dancing around. We're not getting anywhere. Then I'm just falling into the dance that I don't want to be in. Okay, so let's see. Who brought this one up? Australasia. Remy Rodriguez, 100, heard this term. Has anybody heard of Australasia? So we had Oceania, showed up quite some years ago. Used to be Australia was by itself, so it didn't need a fancy term because it was just Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand was nearby. But now we're seeing islands break off of Australia and then all this stuff at the top here. So what is Australasia? We've talked about before, this stuff at the top is like growing. So I guess It's weird because sometimes I look it up and it just says Australasia is Australia and New Zealand and some islands. And then, well, what islands is it? And this one here, it shows, like, I believe that's Papua New Guinea. And what was that one on the left? Now, that one's Calumet. I can't remember what the other side of Papua New Guinea is included. But in this one, weirdly, there's, like, nothing. I'm like, here's another version of Australasia, and it just includes New Zealand and Australian islands. So where's the Asia part? I don't know. So then this is Melanesia here, I guess? Or is this also Australasia? Yeah, this is all confusing me. So pink is Micronesia. Here's Polynesia. New Zealand is in Polynesia now. This whole thing confuses me. Like, why did you have to work so hard to try to get New Zealand in? But in this one, you don't have Papua and New Guinea. And, oh, this is West Papua. I mean, isn't this right next to Australia? I would probably say Australasia should be these, right? New Zealand's way out. Or if you're going to include the one way out here, you should include these nearby ones, right? So I'm just thinking, well, in the old days, New Zealand was right next to Australia for me. I know other people have chimed in that it was all different places for them. But maybe that's why it has to be included, because it used to be close, and I don't know. But the whole thing is just weird, Australasia. I mean, even thinking of this as Asia, I guess Asia's right here, but if Asia's here, then shouldn't Australasia include stuff over there instead of stuff over here? I don't know. This is another example of the timeline being just whack-doodle. Nothing really makes sense. Australasia doesn't include any parts of Asia, at least not currently. Homer Simpson on the TV. I was raised by TV and I'm TV. Yeah. Homer Simpson. I think that's a good example, basically, of, you know, he talks in slogans, and then it's funny because you see how obvious it is. Angels don't fall. I know that I've done a lot of shifting for some time. So I am still me. So am I still me, or am I another me? I know what you mean. So everybody I know has changed. Like, they have different histories, different physical issues, some different quirks. And on different shifts, some of them shift their personality a fair amount. Like, I've had people where I won't get along with them that well, and then hopefully in the next shift we get along again. There's been a few like that. Habits, smoking, not smoking. There's been some actually rather surprising to me habit changes. Some of my other friends, like one of my other friends, his personality seems really, really set, so he doesn't really change his personality. A couple of his habits and physical issues have shifted. But according to them, I change. Okay, so am I me? You know, like, they'll say, no, you used to know that, now you don't know this. So to them, I change. So am I still me? I mean, according to them, not quite. I also do feel like I've changed some. But I don't feel like my history has changed. You know, my personality has changed some. So there's that. I don't know. It's confusing because all the parts are moving. You know, the reality's shifting, the history's shifting, people around me are shifting, I'm shifting. So it's like trying to get your bearings when it's a constant toss salad inside a moving dryer machine and everything is just like, so, I mean, you just kind of have to get used to the lack of grounding, I guess, where everything is constantly shifting. I mean, I didn't even cover Christmas songs this year because it's gotten to the point where all the songs have so many changes that I can't even remember what it used to be on a lot of them. And I don't even know, like, I don't want to say it used to be this, now it's this. Now I'm just like, this song is all wrong. And 75% of the words are wrong. And I don't even know where to start. It's like, I gave up. People are only consumers. They only copy paste. Yeah, it's weird because they don't seem to see the obvious logic flaws. I do think some of it is me getting better at seeing it myself. So I think that's part of it, but I don't think it was nearly this bad either. So if that's also another thing, I'm trying to compare myself against a target that won't hold still. So, again, maybe it's just that it's time to choose, like this stuff is getting more and more obviously crazy. Like one of the things I really notice is there'll be an event that paints a certain picture of, like, say, guilt. Okay, so let's say a lot of it does get wrapped into the politics just because one side picks a side to view this, right? So you have to, God, I don't know if I even want to show examples, but there are a lot of them. All the examples are just so political. But say that side X looks guilty in an event, and it's very easy to get judgy and go, that person obviously did blah, blah, and there'll be film that really backs it up. But yet some of the details are not known. And what I have really noticed is, even though that person looks really guilty with the currently released info, to hold back on judging, because what happens is everybody rushes to make this judgment, and indeed in many cases it does look quite damning, and then a month later a whole new set of info will come down the chute that will completely reverse the script, and now that side will look very, very innocent and the other side will look very, very guilty. And but even then, I don't want to rush too much to judgment, because 4 months later, a whole nother batch of data may come down the chute, declassified, found, released, whatever, that flips the script back the whole other way. And I don't think that's just some kind of weird astroturfing or anything. I just seems like that's the lesson that reality is teaching. It's like, are you going to keep going with I'm not sure all the lessons, but I do feel like it's basically saying two things. Don't be so judgy, because you don't know, especially because you don't know everything. And don't be spending a lot of your energy judging others and not working on yourself, which I think I've certainly been guilty of, and I think it's pretty common. But the other thing is also, are you going to let go of your opinions when new data comes along? I mean, are you just going to cling to them and refuse to look at the new data? So it's like, so there might be a lesson that way too, to not be so clingy and think you know everything, and be willing to be honest. And so when the new data comes, are you going to honestly admit you were wrong? Are you capable of that? Because you're going to get a lot of chances in the current reality as stuff shifts back and forth, back and forth. And I've gotten to the point where it's just predictable now, that I'm like, this has come through, this guy looks guilty. In a month, in 3 months, whatever, they're going to suddenly start looking rather innocent. And it almost always happens. Like, I almost want to say, I have almost probably like 100% on it now that I've been watching for it. What if we Mandela effectees are the refugees from other timelines that got destroyed? and were transported here to get spared. I've definitely thought about that a lot, Samo, that I'm, one of the questions that I really ask myself a lot is, I do seem to be more shifty than a lot of people around me. Like, the people around me see Mandelas, but rarely as many as I do. Like, I'll think it used to be way over here, and they'll think, oh, it's almost like current reality says, except for one little thing. And it's clear that they're much more closely aligned with the current reality than I am. Now, way back, some of those people even agreed with me that it was like here, but now they think it's more like the current reality. So either they got the download or they're just from this reality. And I'm tempted to suspect that they're just from a reality closer to here because other things about them changed, things that fit this reality. Or they let themselves get changed. I don't know, but I just, well, like, why am I more shifty? I'm not the only one, but I am definitely more shifty than average. And I'm like, well, why? I mean, did I die in a lot of timelines? Did my timelines get destroyed? Have I changed my personality more than a lot of people and therefore I've shifted more? I don't know. I and other Mandela people remember a war went off on election night 2016. Last day I was on the Sagittarius arm. Huh, interesting. A war between who? No, I don't remember that one, so maybe I'm not as shifty as you. I have seen people from Hillary being a president online saying every time she got there, Earth exploded. Interesting, because one of the fears of her becoming president, which was that she'd be too much of a war hawk. I mean, I do feel like DNC seems to be in control now anyways. I don't really think Biden's calling the shots, so I don't know if it really matters at this point, but Helion thinks I'm not that shifty. Well, there's that. I mean, I probably do attract more shifty types. It's funny because I hate to say that word because it sounds like you're deceptive, shifty. We got to come up with a better word for it, but you know what I mean. I don't know what this buck knuckle belt chit is. I don't know what buck knuckle belt. I don't know what that is. Android Hillary. Has anyone seen the videos of Android Hillary? No. I mean, like, I don't know. Because videos are also, so easily faked now. So, okay, so some of this stuff, I mean, I don't know what to think about anymore. Some of that stuff where Hillary was, like, glitching and stuff, and then you look it up and it goes, actually, this is the original video, and somebody kind of, like, slowed it down and reversed it back and forth, so it's forward, reverse, so it made her look like she was glitching, right? And certainly we know that the anti-Hillary side would do something like that. So then you got to wonder, well, maybe those videos are real in another reality, you know? Or maybe if enough people believe that video, it'd be like the first entry into the timeline of something that's coming. So whenever there's a viral video like that, you're like, Seems like whenever we get to the point that we destroy the world, we get to the redo and go back. Or you got punted to the next reality over, or the ones, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's still so many questions. There's no way to nail that down. It was amplified sounds, and when she moved, it was robotic sounds. Don't care about. Yeah, I don't really care. I don't trust either of the political parties. Plus, they shift. Like there was video of Trump in that one event where he held up the Bible, and that video was changed. He was very different in one video to the next. So it's like, can I even judge a situation that can't even hold still anyways, So Again, I think he's just a product of the times. Oh yeah, Shari. So I guess a lot of people were complaining about the autocorrect. Not just you. That's interesting though. I feel like nothing really works well anymore. You know, it's like people can't concentrate. They don't care about their job. They just want to get paid. I mean, it's not everybody, but there's definitely a lot more of that. So you get crappy service, you get crappy programming, you get crappy, like everything, you know, where humans are involved. The quality has definitely degraded. At least in the United States. I don't know if it's true if I went to like sub-Saharan Africa, if they have a major change or not, you know, which I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of curious about that. If an area is less taken over by the internet and the like, you know, maybe is there a global energy that affects everybody, or are some areas more immune, perhaps with a more traditional way of life? Yes, with the videos being edited, it's impossible for the average person to know what is real and what isn't, even if they're watching something live on TV. Yeah, exactly. I mean, now they could have pre-programmed that. Certainly we've seen evidence of that with the ISS videos. So, again, you know, do you trust the government to be the final say on what is real and what isn't? I don't think you can. They can also fake videos. Did you see the Queen's video saying it was the last Christmas? I heard about it. I don't know if I actually saw it or not. Wasn't there a Mandela associated with that, where she said it and a lot of people saw it and then now they can't find it and she never said it? I think I remember some Mandela about that thing. Reality often reflects what we say, feel, and think. Reality cannot tell you what it is. It's the people that define it. Yes, I do feel like we're starting to see more and more of that, because there's so many people are saying, well, I was just thinking about something and it showed up. Like, they didn't say it out loud. They didn't talk about it. Because for a while now, people are saying, oh, well, YouTube or Google or whatever is obviously listening and sending me advertisements to match conversation. But if you're only thinking about something, if you only think about striped elephants in your head, and then suddenly there's an advertisement for striped elephants, that's pretty creepy. But if manifestation is real, then that could just be the universe, you know, winking at you and going, yes, we're listening, here it is. So there's that also. Maybe that's what we're seeing, is a giant manifestation war. Like, everybody's manifestation gets more powerful, but we're at odds. And so you get all this different stuff and timelines overlapping, and it's getting like totally helter-skelter. But I mean, like, what? Are we all going to live in a different timeline at once? Like, if I look at the tree and look at that beautiful purple flower, and then a life matrix says, what are you talking about? Those flowers are pink, you know? Are we going to get there? I don't know. I definitely feel like it's sometimes online, because I'll be like, come on, that guy obviously punched that guy in the face. And then someone else will go, oh, nah, he didn't really. He hardly touched him. I'm like, but his head snapped back and he slammed his head on the pavement. That's a punch. And they're like, no. I'm like, are you literally looking at a different video than I am looking at? The Earth I came from was much bigger, definitely. The continents were much farther apart, definitely. And a large ice cap in the North Pole, definitely. And for me, that ice cap was on land, and it was a continent called Antarctica. That is my reality. There was a video of the Queen, and it made a huge wave. Yes! But then I seem to recall people went back to look for it, and it was gone. And that was like a little Mandela. SMQ still has a videos on his channel about the 2016 election night attack on their lost and found bin show. Okay, so what attack was it? Because I wasn't in that timeline, so I'm kind of curious. Like, who fought who? A UFO appeared at the Queen's Jubilee. Okay, I didn't see that one. I realized this week that flight times are much longer. It can't be because of the war in Ukraine. I don't think so, unless you're you're flying around Ukraine the long way or something. I mean, like, from my location, that really wouldn't be a thing. Also, like, from our perspective, the world seems smaller, and I have found that drive times around here have dropped. And I am, if anything, less of a speed demon now than I used to be, because I have a big, fat, lifted truck that does not hit corners good. So, if anything, I drive slower, especially on the spinning turns, you know, like, because I can't just go whipping around like I used to. Probably saved me from a ticket somewhere along the line. Larger circumference at the poles and larger globe. In the past, yes, I would say. Maybe these Orion Earths are flat. Yeah, I don't even know. You know, there's a lot of interesting evidence for flat Earth, but then you have a lot of questions. But then if maybe physics is just a set of rules we agreed to abide by, and there really is no reality as we assume it is, then flat Earth could be a thing. You know, because maybe the concept that there's a globe spinning around in space and we somehow are stuck on the surface of it via this thing called gravity, and somehow the whole atmosphere and everything is somehow stuck onto it with this force that we don't even understand at all. Maybe that's just as ridiculous as flat Earth. It's just that we grew up with it and so we accept it. You know. If we were hurling through space, the Big Dipper would have been so far back we would see it. Yeah, I don't know. Mandela effect used to talk about changes in the laws of physics. Yes, and I've talked about that too. So we know physics can change. I mean, granted, from ball Earth to flat Earth is a little bit larger of a change than we usually discuss. But again, it does not appear that physics is totally stable. The direct flight from Toronto to Dubai is 13 hours, but I used to fly from Dubai to Seattle for less than this. That's interesting, Shari. That is interesting. So, some things it could be that it reflects changes in how engines operate, air drag, wind turbulence, efficiency of engines, power of gravity, changes in the atmosphere, something like that. The other thing though we did notice is that the one distance that seemed to, some people were saying were taking longer, was in Russia. Like, it does seem that some of Russia stretched out. So maybe you're in a certain area that did stretch out. Now the direct flight from Seattle to Dubai is 14 hours, 35 minutes. At least conventionally thinking, I can't really think of a reasonable explanation for why they'd be going slower now than in the old days. The other thing is, I remember in the old days, you know, planes used to fly over and they'd be so loud. They'd just be like I'd be talking to somebody on the phone, like say who's down the street, and they would have to stop talking because the plane would fly over and be like, you couldn't hear them. And then I could hear the plane coming, and then when it got near me, I would have to stop talking because you couldn't hear yourself think. And that's not the case at all. Now you can barely hear them, you know. So, I mean, that can be written off to increased quietness of the newer engines. But again, sometimes I do wonder about that. Toronto to Vancouver is 3 hours. So, you know, I kind of just I didn't do a lot of flying, but I did do, I did do to the East Coast, and I think that hasn't really changed majorly. But again, it was a long time ago when I flew those distances, so I'm just, even then I'm not sure. Jets used to be very noticeable. Yeah, it was just the normal passenger aircraft, and we used to be a little bit near a airport, but those planes were still way up there when they were loud, though. It was not like I'm right near the airport where they were still low. From our timeline, things had a more yellow theme. Our sun was yellow. Our lights were yellow. The lighting here is weird to me. It's very white. I definitely agree with that. That's one of the things, like the last few days especially, I'm starting to get used to the light, but it's very hard to just feel that I'm in my world when even the lighting is off. You know, it's kind of creepy. It just, the lighting is not right. And lately it's been super weirdly misty up there, and the light is percolating through, and it just looks very surreal to me the last few days. And Jonar gave me 20 SEKs. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much. And look, there's a little heart thing I can do now, which, what does this click do? Okay, no, that's not anything we want to do. They're always changing stuff. Live chat. All right, here we go. And this one caught me because I used to be big on getting natural lighting. Like, I wanted to get light bulbs that were natural lighting. And I do remember it was quite some time ago, but I thought I knew what natural lighting was. And then I went down to Home Depot to get, I wanted to get the fluorescent lights that had the natural range of light. And I'm like, but this says it's the natural range, but it's not. It's too white, but it says it's the natural range. And my brain was like, I swear it was this, but now they're saying it's this, and blah, blah, and I'm like, well, I must be remembering wrong. But I do remember just being there going, wait a minute, this is all wrong, but and I couldn't. Then I went home. I'm like, well, maybe they're wrong. You know, maybe Home Depot is wrong. And I did Google, and I'm like, no, according to Google, Home Depot is right, and it's always been this way. Famous last Mandela words. It's always been this way. So this camera also does make me look reddish, though. I have to say, this webcam, I'm not quite this reddish. And it kind of like removes a few wrinkles, so I feel a little, like it makes me look a little younger. Yeah, and then they got rid of the incandescent lights, and I'm like, I just can't totally believe that that's totally unrelated to the sun shifts. Like, oh, and now we've even made those light bulbs illegal. And that's another thing. The stuff they're making illegal is crazy. Like, we got to stop growing food because, why again? You know, like, we got to eliminate the carbon footprint by not growing food so, like, a bunch of people starve. Like, we admit that there's not enough food in the world, but we're going to stop growing a bunch of it. What? You know, like, I grew up from the time we were trying to feed everybody. You know, and the population is already stabilizing, so we really don't need to be, like, starving people to death. I mean, why is everybody voting for cutting food production when we don't have enough food in the world? I'm like, hello? It's kind of a no-brainer. Do we agree that starving people to death is bad, yet we're cutting food production? Like, it's complete clown world. I think you'll still be able to buy them, but they can't advertise them. I don't think they're making them anymore, though. So, like, lighting facilities that I know of, they can't get and don't have those light bulbs anymore. And if you can't buy them, then you're not going to, like, have them. Like, nobody's going to come into my room and, like, give me a fine for having one in my lamp, but you won't be able to get them anymore. See, but it's not, like, China is not cutting, I haven't heard anything about them cutting back food production. It's like, some European countries, Canada, US is starting to saber rattle about it. China's not doing it. So I don't know. I mean, it'd be all too easy to just blame it on China, but there's some kind of a, in the Bible, they say there's like a strong delusion will come upon the land. And I feel like whatever this is, that would be a good word for it. I mean, if there's going to be such a thing as a strong delusion, this is it, where people just can't see obvious stuff. And if it is the thing that's in the Bible, then it's not so simple as one company or one country is like controlling the narrative. It's people literally are incapable of seeing truth is how it's described. Like that truth will be hidden from them, is how the Bible describes it. Unless you love truth, I think there was some stuff. Like you gotta love truth. And I guess people don't. Consider who's buying up all the farms and why. Well, Bill Gates, yes, but so I tend to think though that I mean I know there is one narrative that it's like this deep state WEF overlords type, but again with the Mandela and everything, I do think it's got to be at a higher level, some kind of spiritual warfare thing. The love of truth versus the love of lies. I mean, if you say that you represent truth, but you lie all the time, then you don't represent truth. No matter how much you may hate the other side, if you do not love truth most and being honest and fairly depicting things at least as much as you can and admitting, truth when you see it and wanting to know the truth, even when it might go against the narrative you prefer, then you're going to have problems. And really just being like, I have my narrative that I believe in most, but I also try not to be too clingy because next year that whole thing might turn out to be wrong. So I think we all have to accept that we don't have the answers. We're guessing, and new data might come along and we may have to go, okay, I admit it, I was wrong, and this is actually the current official reality, or evidence is there. Then you have to ask, okay, well, is everybody seeing the same evidence? Maybe they didn't even see my evidence. Maybe when they're looking at something, they see a whole different thing in their head. That's another one. I hate you, autocorrect, from the deepest part of my heart. Turn that thing off. There should be a way in your phone to turn that thing off. My life has gotten much better since I removed it. And there was a time when it was useful because it actually helped you spell. But now all it does is, most of the time, it just helps you say wrong stuff. Mandela is just another designed to distract and cause confrontations and be at odds. I don't know. Maybe. Taking us away from, I don't know what that word is. Nin? I don't know what that, I am not familiar with that. Every being is sovereign to express their point of view. I do feel like trying to figure out reality is like pin the tail on the donkey. Like, I can't really see reality, but it seems like it's about here, and then maybe I'll get a glimpse. I'm like, okay, maybe it's actually over here. But I do feel like don't get too attached to your first pinnings because you're probably going to be missing the mark. Maybe you'll hopefully be in the ballpark, but I don't, Shari, mine had a way to permanently shut it off. And I have actually been pleased that it does not sneak back on when there's updates. At least it hasn't so far. Fingers crossed. Hopefully I haven't cursed myself with that one. DEAD. Yeah, I don't know. See, like, justice is now crime, and, there's everything is opposite land. Okay, so there's Australasia, the mystery what is that even? It's not a continent. All right. This is another one. So we've had these ice caves on before, but it's next level now. They've got rainbow ice caves. Like, the sun shines through and the light splits and there's algae. And so what we got? Green, yellow, reddish, blue, purple. This one's got more red in it. Apparently this is natural. I mean, they're even showing, they're saying the locations. There's some nice red ones. I looked in there and they are describing locations. This is South Coast and Katla. All right, now that's the actual exit, so that's not as good an example, but let's go back here. So if you click on these, there's all locations. They go, oh, don't go in the ice caves. Oh, it's dangerous. And then they show these beautiful stuff. The Weather Channel. So one would imagine that these aren't... This one's just illuminated by his flare. But these other ones are supposed to be the sun shining in. Now, you always have to wonder if maybe they manipulated it some. But there's a bunch of them from different... people who claim these are legit, and they weren't around like 2 years ago, so I've got my suspicions. There's how come this one's not? This was is supposed to be rainbow ice caves at Mount Rainier National Park in the United States. National Park to issue a warning about the dangers of exploring these caves. Taken by nature photographer Matthew Nicholas, were shot from the insides of one of the caves. I could not believe my eyes. Went up to Mount Rainier specifically to explore the ice caves and never imagined they would be so colorful, Mr. Nichols wrote on Instagram. Yeah, so I don't know, is everybody faking it? We've seen enough Mandelas that I think that they're probably legit. I mean, there's not enough people going into these ice caves to totally verify, but something's up. All right, so ice caves. We've had them on before, but again, no rainbows. And there were few of them, and they were rare, and now they're like everywhere. There was one other one, really styling one, that I had saved that gave me the idea. That wasn't even that cool. I was like... oh, that one's nice. I'll see if I can find like a long view of that one, since it's so beautiful, to put on for the thumbnail. And then I found even better ones. And I mean, like the icicles, next level. Oh, here, this is the one that I had seen on Reddit. Absolutely beautiful. The mystical ice caves of Patagonia. Actually, I should probably click on that and see what else is over there. Look at that. That's amazing. And it kind of blows my mind that the bottom isn't ice either. The bottom is this dirt. Styling. Each one's different. I would assume that they carved this one out. Yeah, a man-made ice cave. Perched on the second largest glacier in Europe, allows tourists to marvel its beauty from the inside. That wasn't a thing either, actually. Look at that. Completely styling. Don't go in the caves, then they show you pictures of these amazing caves. Totally makes you want to go in there. All right, what else we got? We've had these black tigers on before, but it seems like they're getting more organized. So the story now is there is a location called Simlipal, I don't know. That there's like a conglomeration of these pseudo-melanistic, which is a new term for me, pseudo-melanistic. So we had like one of these on where they said, oh, this is just this weird color morph. that I had never seen before. I mean, it used to be white tigers were the big deal, but now there's in this, India, Simlipal, there's a conglomeration of where these are found more often. So there's multiple examples of them, various levels of, like, the black coloration is more strong. And I did find some images of, like, a white and black tiger. Like, it had the thick black lines, and then the rest of it was just white, and it didn't have the yellow and orange at all. It was just black and white. So this color morph is big shock, not coming into the timeline more clearly. Okay. This one isn't, I mean, I can't swear this is a Mandela, but I've never really heard of the Native Americans having pet wolves. Now, I couldn't say that nobody ever had one, but it didn't seem to be like a thing I've ever heard of. And then there's this, this is supposedly the first photographic image known, like the earliest one known of a Native American, and that person had this pet wolf. They're saying this is a wolf. It looks like a wolf to me. So that's it's just kind of interesting to think that. Used to be the story was, dogs probably came from pet wolves. But now we see the different species of dog can all interbreed anyway. So there's coyotes and there's wolves can interbreed, and then probably some of the other wild dogs could interbreed. So is it some kind of interbred mix? I'm not sure what the latest story is on the derivation of dogs originally, but I never heard of anything about Native Americans taming wolves. If anything, I would have kind of guessed that they would tame coyotes. Coyotes are, in the current timeline, known to tame down okay. Like, they'll still be they'll still be kind of skittish around strangers and stuff, but they can be fairly doggy-like. People are doing it now, and always have. So interesting to see the wolf in there, though. Just happened to be the earliest ever photo of a Native American. Just happened to have a pet wolf in there. Interesting. See, unlike the many fearsome myths created about wolves by settlers, Native Americans maintained a close and respectful relationship with wolves and had domesticated them to become pets. Circa 1850s. Just never heard that storyline. I mean, it's not crazy, but it just seems to me like if Native Americans always tamed wolves, that should have been more of the thing. Okay, this thing. Okay, we've had this sea foam on before. But again, it just seems like the narrative is upgrading. It does not appear that this person is actually wading in water. So this sea foam must have come way into the villages. It looks like it was even this high at some point. But now she just wades through it like it's foam. It jiggles interestingly. It doesn't seem to be acting like there's liquid under there. I would have liked to get more video, and I don't have much info. The streets of Spain after a storm hits the country. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a kid's playhouse full of foam. I don't imagine it's stinky. There's just a bunch of jokes and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Crazy. Just this thing. I mean, like, are we going to have like half the continent invaded by sea foam? When it first came out, it would just be by the shore. Now it's blocks and blocks and blocks of sea foam. Like, how much sea foam can the sea create? This is crazy. The washing machine doesn't create this much foam, even if you overload the soap. I don't think sea foam is pollution. Last I checked, it was just like some kind of proteins from the seaweeds getting tossed around, and it wasn't pollution. That's the other interesting thing. Now, I do think there was a narrative of pollution at first, created by the agitation of seawater, particularly when it has higher concentrations of dissolved organic matter, including proteins, lignins, and lipids, derived from sources such as offshore breakdown of algal blooms. I guess you could say it's pollution, sort of, because the storyline narrative is that increased pollution causes increased algal blooms. So then if there's increased algal blooms, then that could cause more sea foam. These compounds can act as surfactants or foaming agents, but they're still natural. It's algal. As the seawater is churned by breaking waves in the surf zone adjacent to the shore, the surfactants under these turbulent conditions trap air, forming persistent bubbles that stick to each other through surface tension. So we have seen that it seems like water surface tension is stronger now, so it theoretically could yield more clingy, persistent bubbles. But still, this is crazy. I mean, if it was that easy, it seems to me like there should be a lot more sea foam. There should be sea foam all the time, and only sometimes it just gets more, and maybe we will get that. I don't know. I mean, my area has pretty hard waves and a lot of algal blooms because we get that algal bloom that causes the glowing waves and stuff. Yet we don't get sea foam, despite that in the daytime the whole ocean can look reddish from the amount of algae. Foam can be blown by strong onshore winds from the beach that into inland. Human activities can also contribute to the formation of sea foam. So it does say some spills can cause it, but it looks like it's primarily excuse me. Natural right now. Excuse me. All right, so yeah, pretty weird. You know, I live near the ocean too, so it kind of trips me out because I've just never seen any of this stuff. Not even a tad, you know. I used to go to the beach all the time, and even now, when I do go, I've never seen it. And, you know, whenever there's big storms, they will usually have shots of our ocean. Oh, the waves are such and such big. You know, they're also saying there's king waves today. I really should check that out because king waves is something I've only heard in the last, say, 2 years. Oh, king tide. Okay, so I rented one of my rooms out of my house. So that dude that we kind of known him from way back, but he was saying this morning, oh, there's king waves. He was thinking of going out, but I guess it's king tides then. 7-foot king tide wave hits Oregon. What is the difference between high surf and king tides? So I assume it just means big fat tides. We're having some storms lately. So are they, I think it just means that, let's see, the king tides are winter's highest tide. They occur when the earth, moon, and sun are aligned to produce the greatest tidal effects. Okay, so some kind of additional alignment besides the moon. Okay, so we have like a king tide plus some high surf right now. So maybe that's the spiel. So king tides for us, it's not going to be that big compared to a lot of places. I mean, we're not Hawaii with those ridiculous waves. This one is kind of a weird one. It's just some little tiny thing, but it just kind of bugged me. I remember the little islands called I call them the Maldives. The Maldives. I've heard it a million times that it was the Maldives up until recently. Suddenly, I started seeing people call him the Maldives. Reminds me of the Moadiv from Dune. Maldive. So they're Maldive now, not Maldives. So, okay, well, maybe we all said it wrong all the time, and then suddenly we realized they pronounce it a different way. But if so, then it should be in the histories that traditionally we called it Maldives, and we were wrong, and now we're moving to Maldives. It's sort of like Kiev, and they're, oh no, now we're calling it Kiev, right? But at least it's in the history that we changed it. We kind of agreed to call it their way or something. But there's some people saying, everybody used to call it Maldive, but I don't know, what did we all learn wrong? But then if you look at the official way to pronounce it, it's always been Maldives. Like, all the official ones say this is how it always was said, and some people just said it wrong. Like, some people, like everybody for 4 decades, always pronounce it Maldive, and it's Maldive. It sounds so close to that movie. I don't know. I just bring it in part of it. I really remember Maldives is only the way, and there was a lot of the terminology that kind of smacks of Mandela too. Like, everybody thought it was Maldives. Everybody thought it was Maldives, but it was always, everybody thought it was Maldives, but it was always Maldives. I'm like, well, if everybody thought something, then that's how it was, right? Like, how can you have everybody think something, but it actually be something else? At least for pronunciation, that does not work. The correct pronunciation is the one that everybody uses, including everybody on the news back in the days when they actually pronounced things properly, and you almost never heard a mispronunciation because people were careful. All right, this one, I already did that one. Did I cover this one? This was interesting. I thought I covered this one last week. But it says I only saved it 3 days ago, so maybe I didn't. It's about the chimeras. Maybe I just talked about it with some other people, but now it's not technically a Mandela because it's a new find. But it fits with the Mandela line, and I think we're going to see more and more of these show up and go backwards in time. This one is just like chimerism, again, is something that wasn't even around for me. It wasn't possible. But some time ago, they started saying that if in the womb there were 2 different fetuses, could somehow fuse, even though they had different DNA. So it wasn't twins that fused. They actually had different DNA. And then the body would grow just like with half the DNA of one and half the DNA of another. And you'll see the cats would have like split down the middle, and this would be one coloration, and this would be another because they were a chimera. Okay, so that was already weird enough, but now apparently there's a mode of reproduction that is just uses chimerism. Now, these are just in ants for now, but I have a feeling. So it's obligate chimerism in male yellow crazy ants. So typically you would have one cell, like you'd have an egg, it would be fertilized, and then the DNA would mix, and then it would develop from there, and all the DNA would be the same. And that's like the typical way that things reproduce. Then the secondary form of reproduction has showed up in the timeline, where it's basically clones, where The female can clone itself, say, but then it came out that there was a way to kind of mix the DNA around even within the clone, but still one embryo with one DNA throughout the embryo would develop generally, and the chimeras would be like sort of an accident and rare. But of course they say, oh, we never knew how many there really are, but they have been considered an accident up until now. Now they're saying that these ants actually always are chimeras. Like there's always two different, so like when the egg and the sperm meet, instead of like fusing their DNA and having one final collection of DNA to multiply, they always stay chimeras with two different DNAs, and the final outcome of the ant is a split with some cells having one DNA and the other cells having the other DNA. Chimerism occurs when parental nuclei bypass syngamy. I'm assuming that means where they shuffle around and pick one set of DNA. So they divide the two nuclei with the two different DNA, divide separately within the same egg, and then what determines if it's a male or female ant is who donated the sperm. No, wait, okay. Is fertilized by fertilized by an R sperm or a W sperm? I don't even know what an R sperm and a W sperm are. This study reveals a mode of reproduction that may be associated with a conflict between lineages to preferentially enter the germ line. Yeah, I don't know. This is bizarre. I have a feeling I'm not going to really understand it, but there you go. We've got another form of DNA, another form of whatever you call it, reproductive mode. That's totally weird. So you imagine like I get married, we have a child, and the child has literally cells that are half him and cells that are half me. And like say he's dark skinned and I'm light skinned, and the outcome could be like he'll be like a white person on that side and a dark person on the other side. It's crazy. And the cells wouldn't reject each other. I mean, like, it's just weird. I mean, okay, the liver is his DNA and the lungs are my DNA. You couldn't have made this stuff up. This timeline's crazy business. Okay. Actually, let me just see what you guys are all chit-chatting about. Excuse me. Yes, I did sneeze. I remember seeing a wolf headdress, but it was art. Yeah, so they have headdresses of all kinds of creatures, but they weren't all pets, so maybe they will all be pets now. Patagonia changed location. Yeah. I saw pigeon wings under a light that had marking. Yeah, they have this UV new colorations that you can only see with UV. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Did Patagonia even have I'm not sure. I didn't know a ton about Patagonia, so I can't really say it. I think we were getting to the space aliens and religions part of the story. That's a thing, if space aliens come, what kind of, would they have religions? Or would they just have theories? Or, would they have really weird cultural stuff? Or would they be beyond that? There's so many questions. Did anyone see the TikTok about Australasia? all these people from there saying it was normal, their capital changed, the shape of the Sydney Opera House changed. Well, let's just slap that Sydney Opera House on, shall we? Sydney Opera. Now, one of the earliest Mandelas I remember, like 7 years ago, was people were saying the Sydney Opera House changed. It got more, like, domey parts. So that might be an older change. So I'm trying to remember how it originally was, and then remember how it was last time, and then remember how it was now. I don't remember. This is interesting. I do think it's changed since last time. I don't remember these triangle doobies in here. I don't remember this triangle doobie. I just remember, you know, the domes like this. This one was new for me last time, that there wasn't another one down here. I just remember a bunch going forward. I don't remember those. But now they've got these weird triangle things. I don't know what's going on with these little corner nubs. So I do think it's changed again. This thing is definitely shifty. You can see it from most angles, those little extra, whatever the heck this is, these little middle pieces. Those were not in there last time. Last time I was talking about this one, and I think I was a little suspicious of that one. And I felt like there was, like, it used to be just like 1, 2, 3, and maybe one over here. But then there's a whole new set back behind, so I thought that one was suspicious. There definitely weren't these triangle things. You can see it from most angles, too, so I don't think it's one of those you just never saw it. Because you can see it from so many angles. This, here. This is interesting, too, because I've never seen this angle where one comes up back here. It's a little bit less iconic now with all this extra stuff. Before, it was a little more striking. It just had the domes, but without, I don't know what all that is. Not sure on this patterning either. That looks a little... That is something I could have not seen, but you can still kind of see it from here, and I don't remember those patterns. Look, there they are with the patterns. Oh, it's so very shiny. I don't remember ever seeing reflectivity either on any of the photos. So I do suspect that there's a number of changes. Some of these maybe I didn't see, but I'm pretty suspicious. There it is again. So basically for me, I believe that originally way back there was just one set of these. And then there became like another set plus that one. And now we have these like little triangle like add-ons. This shows those little add-ons. So yes, I definitely feel like it's shifted again. The only place it looks kind of normal is from that one angle. But then again, it just looks like there's too many of them here. I think there was like 3 plus 1 going the other way, and that was it. It's like it's doubled, and now it's growing on the back. It's like a giant creature. Nobody said anything about how Adolf loved Jesus. Adolf loved Jesus? Really? Hitler loved Jesus? I don't even remember him being religious at all. In fact, he was sort of into the weird occult stuff a little bit. Especially, like, that sort of became, like, more of a story later. I didn't learn it originally, but I do remember him, like, that Aryan thing. But then now there's, like, all this occult stuff. I had never heard of anything about him liking Jesus, though. Every empire winds up the same. Lost and forgotten compliments of genocide, overindulgences, power mongers. Yeah. Money hungry syndrome. Like Rome, basically. So that's the current narrative. But then we could also have that narrative change at any time. So I don't want to get too attached to that narrative because A, it's just not like a good outcome. It's not positive. So I don't want to like put too much energy into that belief system because it's not the outcome I want. So we could also have a narrative where these if sometimes they collapse just right and then renew themselves and then it's better, right? So there's like Rome actually collapsed, but the outcome was many healthy smaller governments that then rose up and became very successful for many decades, let's say. So I like that kind of narrative. So that's the kind of thing I want to see and, keep my eye out for. I don't want to be like, oh, we're all doomed, because that's not the narrative that I want to see in my world. The Unfuckers, if anybody doesn't know what that is, that Chari's talking about, that's another YouTube channel. Well, she's doing some YouTube, but she had moved mostly to like Odyssey and stuff. But they talk a little about Mandela, but a lot of just like throwing theories at the wall and making observations about the strange world we currently are in. We're talking about AI decoding the language of animals. Well, animals are smarter now, so it may possibly happen to some extent. Although I really wonder how much is sort of that they just literally kind of are psychic, because I mean I'm seeing it more and more with my animals, in that so either they speak English or they're psychic or something, because the last batch of animals, especially the last dog, I would say stuff and then it was like she understood it. Like I would say, oh, like, and I started using terms that she shouldn't know because I didn't want to use the dog or her name or anything. So I would try to come up with new words like, look at the floof, she's sitting weird. Or look at the floof, her leg is sticking out, because she was kind of like boneless type of dog, and she'd just sit, and like, I wanted to say like, look at her, she's silly, right? But like the minute I would say it, she would like fix the posture, like I go, blah, 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 blah. Oh, look, the dog looks weird. Oh, look, the floof is strange. And then whatever part was sticking out, like a foot, say the foot was all weird, she'd just go, she'd suck it in. Like, she didn't want to look dorky, like it'd be like if I was saying, look at my child, she's sitting like a dork, that child would immediately go, no, I'm not. And that would be like what my dog would do. And there was other things like that, like, I hope she doesn't notice the blah, blah under the towel. And then she'd be like, whoosh, and she'd look at the towel and see it. I'm like, what do you speak English or something? So something's going on with animals is all. I mean, like, do they speak English or what? I don't know. I'm just seeing it more and more. And like, now I work with the horses now at the horse rescue, and I'll be like, I wonder if this horse likes this. And then the horse will literally be like, oh, I'm like, is it just random chance? I'm not really buying it because it happens so much, and even like, we didn't teach them to shake and nod their heads, but they'll be like, I'll see them like nod and shake their heads. And like there's this show I watch where the guy works with other people's horses, and he'll be addressing the crowd, because one of the things he does is live demos where people bring their difficult problem child horses to the demo, and he fixes them there right in front of everybody. Like he works on their behavior and he shows you how. And he'll have the horse behind him, and he'll be addressing the crowd, and the horse will be behind him responding, and he'll go like, well, horses often like when you do blah blah, and the horse will be but don't do this, and the horse will be and the crowd will all start laughing, and he doesn't even know why, because he doesn't have his eyes on this horse. It's not his horse. He never saw it before this day, so I'm pretty sure it's not a secret scam. And he looks genuinely confused that this horse is like, why is everybody laughing? He doesn't know. It's not part of the shtick, and it happens with more than one of the horses. Not all of them, but it's like, what the heck? It's just there's too many times where the horse's timing was like perfect, or sometimes they'll say, and horses really like hay, and then the horse will be like stomp, 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 stomp. It's like, do you speak English, horse? I've been eating Filipino foods non-stop. Yeah, Filipino foods, they got a lot of foods that I really like. They're good cooks on average. With it just, I don't know, certain foods maybe go with certain country folks from certain countries. Like, I'm not a big fan of English food because it's really plain. They don't have any sauces. They hardly put any spices. And I've met other English people from England who are used to that, and they like it, and they don't like all the spices and blah, blah, blah. So they grew up with it. But for me, no. And I guess like New Zealand's like that, I've heard. But the Filipinos, they have food that fits with my taste buds. And a lot of their foods aren't overly spicy, which I can't tolerate. So that helps. They'll only usually have a few dishes that are very spicy. So yum. They have the really good meat dumplings called lumpia. They have really good noodle and rice dishes. Oh, I just saw this one. I think we had this one on with the 2 uteruses that you can have. So I've heard, in the past that people would have 2 of the tubes, but they didn't have 2 like whole separate uteruses. Never heard of anybody giving birth from both. Didelphes, a rare anomaly that causes 2 uteruses. Only 0.3% of women are impacted by this anomaly. That's a lot of people, 0.3%. So let's see, 0.3 out of 100. So that would be 3 out of 1,000 people. Now, when they say impacted, I'm going to assume that they mean that not everybody has a fully formed uterus, but still, 3 out of 1,000 is a lot of people, considering that this is pretty strange sounding. I have had this on, I believe, before, but I did see this also the last couple days. Okay, so this one, I've had these on before. These are in Japan. I just call them like the keyhole monuments, but they're called, I guess, kofuns, giant megalithic sites. Excavation is strictly... Is that how you spell strictly now? Let me just check that. I'm assuming that's a strictly. Didn't used to have a K, I don't think. Okay, it's still not a K. All right, so that guy just misspelled it. Unless that's an alternate spelling. Let me put the K in and see what happens. Okay, no, that guy misspelled. All right. Can't be too careful anymore. These things have gotten huge, and they got water now. So when I first saw them, I mean, look at these little houses. When I first saw them, they would just be like 5 houses long. They weren't They're huge now. This is insane. They didn't have these huge moats. This has got like a double moat. The story since they showed, I am kind of a Japanophile a little bit. I've always been a little extra attracted to the culture, although I don't think my personality would fit at all. But for some reason, I've always been very interested in Japan. And these suckers were not here like 15 years ago. I'm sorry, no. And then they came in, they were like small mounds only with a keyhole shape. And now they're like, what is it, miles long or something? I mean, it's like a mile. Waterways, everything. That wasn't, last time I looked at it, they were not waterways. Okay, now there weren't this many. Look, there's like 4 in one spot. Looks like these are little ones. And they stick out because, Japan is so full of, it's so built up. Of course, there's a lot more of Japan and a lot more islands now, too. So, like, look, there's like water. I don't know, what is this? Water all the way around in here? Then now there's like kind of a dolmen kind of a thing going on. Entrance to Ishi-Butai Kofun. And, okay, let's look up Ishi-Butai Kofun. Ishi-Butai Kofun. And this name Kofun, I'm not sure if I've heard that before. Kofun. I think they had some other word they were using. I have not seen anything where you can get in there, though. So they did say they were burial mounds, but they said you can't excavate. Nobody knows what's under them, and it's a giant mystery. But apparently they did excavate Ishi-Butai Kofun, or you could just always get in there. What's up with this? This is interesting. So I'm looking at this. Wait, let me get rid of this extra stuff here. So what is this line doing here? Like, is that for, like, some kind of ancient technology? There's a line cut in the stone here. It looks like it's old. Are they going to discuss what that is? So you can really see it right here. What is that? What is going on? All right. So let's see the history of Ishi-Butai Kofun. Believed to be the tomb of Soga no Amako. Okay, so we now know more about the tombs. They used to just be like, nobody knows what's under there, and excavation is forbidden. Whoa. Okay, the first word is Ishi, meaning stone. The second, Butai, meaning stage. Stone stage. Looks like a large stone stage. Has been known by this name since the Tokugawa period. Association with Soga no Amako from 1559-ish to 1626, and his death during the reign of Empress Suiko is recorded in the Nihon Shoki. Alright, summer 5th month, 12th day, the Oho Omi died. He was buried in the tomb of Momo Hama. The historian and archaeologist Sadakichi Kita proposed that the Ishi-Butai Kofun is the above-mentioned Momohana tomb. Okay, so they know he died then. They just don't know if this is the tomb they were talking about. Consists of a platform, a gallery, entry, stone walls that form a tomb, 2 large stones that form a ceiling for the tomb, embankments on either side of the tomb. 30 stones were used. Large granite megaliths come from Mount Tonomine, which is approximately 2-ish miles from the site. No mention of this cut. Why is this cut here? I mean, if you're walking along there, why would you put a giant cut there? Long entrance path, 125 feet. A shallow canal, drainage channel, wide runs the length of the entrance. So they're calling it a drainage channel. Okay, maybe. It's not completely implausible. Still just seems a little like a trip and fall hazard or something. I don't know. I feel like that story could get some improvements. That's a really big drainage channel too, frankly. I mean, what are you going to get? Like monsoon rains or something that you're going to have to, I mean, you could have a smaller channel and the rains would still wash out. And it looks like there's an angle on it, so I don't know. It just seems kind of weird as a drainage channel. I mean, like, if you put in a drainage channel right there where you walk, first of all, how many people are going to trip, like old ladies and stuff, are going to, like, twist an ankle on this business? If you're already on an angled walkway, the water, if it's raining hard, you wouldn't go there when it's raining hard. And the water would whoosh down, and then 15 minutes after it rained, it would be down. I don't think you'd have to cut this. So I don't know. Even if you did cut one, you're gonna cut one that wide that like everybody and their uncle falls on it. I don't know. I don't trust any of the current narrative. I really feel like this is opening up like potential for some weird tech or something. This is the first one of these I've seen that they've like they have a whole inside. They've been in it. Oh, styling. Anyway, so my point is then that there's a lot more of these. They're bigger, more packed together, and apparently they know what's under some of them. Dune is the hidden surprise card. Yeah, maybe DMT is the spice that lets you see through the times. And now Japanese and Koreans clearly have Caucasian blood mixed in their DNA. Never in my path. Yes, on some of those new islands, the new old islands, the Mandela Islands, they've got these obviously like red-haired, big fat Caucasian-eyed peoples that don't even look Japanese at all. They don't even look Asian. Yeah, DMT is it's a lot. I mean, it is nicknamed the spice, okay? And for a good reason. And it's definitely not for everybody. Let's just say. It's not playtime. If you want to know about psychedelics, start with a small dose of magic mushrooms. Do not go to the DMT unless you're really sure, because that is it kind of also reminds me of, you know how they talk about, so the Doctor Who episodes where they say part of the current storyline is that when they are young, they are the Time Lords are directed to look into the untempered schism of time, and it can drive you crazy and it's insanity and blah blah blah. That's kind of how I feel like DMT is. It's the untempered schism. It's absolutely fascinating, but it's also quite destabilizing if you aren't stable. So don't mess. It's just not the right one to start with. There's people who are just like, I can do it, dude. Just do it. Just don't go with it first. Whoever controls the spice controls the universe. That was true in that show because those who controlled the spice were able to travel the giant ships through the space-time continuum and move giant, like they were like the spacers, basically. They were the ones that could fly the spaceships. So that's not true in the current reality, but you do have to wonder if some kind of mind control thing will come to the fore as the way to move through the space-time continuum. And those that control those Vimayanas, or whatever, that's the word they used to use in the old Indian text. And there are now apparently stories of certain people that were able to control the Vimayanas and move them. And it wasn't for everybody, and some people went insane. So maybe there will be something like that. If you can control the Vimayanas, you control the ships that go through the time-space continuum and drive them, you will kind of control a large segment of civilization. DMT is expensive. Half-gram vape is 100. Hash form is 80. They sell it in the Z-Day door, Church of Entheogenic Plants Dispensary. Okay, I don't know where that is at. It's not legal in California. They were working on it, but Gavin Newsom did not sign the bill. So even though the one time I wanted him to be a damn Democrat and sign the bill, and he chickened out. I think he's trying to run for Presidente, even though he won't admit it. So maybe that's why, but it is a little pricey, but if you get the vape, it goes a long way. So there's that. I think the price will come down. It's not like it's that hard to make or anything. It's kind of new. It's not quite as extreme if you don't do like a full-on dose, but it is still a lot. It's not legal here in Oakland and San Francisco. I don't think so. It's not state legal. They were talking about me. It might be easy to get, but now I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, San Francisco. It's not state legal. Is there some weird city law that's bucking the state? San Francisco legal DMT. This is new for me. If the cities are saying F the state, so the states have said F the feds and legalize things. Are the cities saying F the state and legalizing things? San Francisco passed a resolution last year that urged local law enforcement to deprioritize the investigation and arrest of adult users of naturally occurring psychedelic substances like psilocybin, which is shrooms, basically. Scott Wiener's bill will decriminalize the use and possession of mushrooms in early 2025, along with DMT. Decriminalize. So it's not legal, but they just won't, bother you. It's so weird. I'm like, okay, so they're not gonna... It's not a crime. It's like it's still a crime, but they're not enforcing it, so it's decriminalized. Let's see. So you are able to have these things for sale there because the cops have been informed to ignore them. And unless the state comes in or the feds come in and make a stink, then you're fine. But I don't think the state is going around enforcing stuff outside of, I think it's usually either the local police or the feds, right? So it'd be like the DEA or the feds or the local police. I don't think the state does a lot on their own, to my knowledge. So you don't have to worry about the state, but you would still have to worry about the feds. And the feds have said on and off that they would respect the desires of the state. I don't think they're totally doing that, but they have kind of indicated that they would not enforce stuff if the state said it's legal. But they never promised to not enforce stuff if only the city said it's legal. So this is just kind of bizarre. Such products have been available in Oakland for well over a year. This is very interesting. I did not know this. So, shrooms are almost legal. This is the bill would decriminalize the use and possession of mushrooms in 2025, along with DMT and ibogaine, passed by the legislature and awaits Governor Gavin Newsom's signature. Well, Gavin Newsom did not sign that. And they took off ibogaine. I think they left DMT on, now that I think about it. And only ibogaine was taken off. There is a reason. Ibogaine's can be a little bit toxic, rarely. So that could be that reason. Also, ibogaine can be used to get you off of other addictive substances, and it's very effective for that. So it could be that big pharma does not want that. That's very interesting. I did not know. It's very interesting how the different areas are just like, F you people, we're making our own laws. And, first the state said screw the feds, now the San Francisco said screw the state. I find that very interesting how there's a lot of talk about the global takeover, WEF and stuff, but what we're seeing on the ground also is a lot of places saying, screw you, we're going to do our own thing on a small scale level. So that's a very interesting reverse thing. Cherokee. Okay, you're Cherokee, so you can do peyote. Yeah, I'm not sure peyote is very barfy. I'm not a big fan of anything that makes you hurl. But all things have their place, and Howard Zede Door Church. I mean, it's still illegal here. My area is so it'd still be it's not that hard to get though either, because even here it's a low priority on enforcement. Like, they don't really care that much. However, if they make it legal, it's going to get cheap because it's pretty easy to cook yourself. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. You can buy some stuff online and just make it. I'm not doing all that because I don't use hardly any, but so the thing with DMT is it's just like a 15-minute trip. So you don't you can be on another planet for 15 minutes and then be back here, and then literally 25-ish minutes later you're totally back. You're back. It's done. Because DMT, I've covered this before, originally when DMT came out, they said that they weren't sure if it was naturally occurring in humans. And now they've always known for a long, long time that it is a natural neurotransmitter of humans. So that is the reason they say that we process it so quickly. Like, your body quickly metabolizes it because we all have all the systems in place to just handle it. If I can prove native heritage, does that mean I can do peyote? I think if you have to get accepted by one of the tribes, I think. And with the casinos, they're kind of picky about who's let in because, they don't want to share their money with a bunch of interlopers. So I don't know. Yeah, you have to have your tribal citizenship. That's what I thought. They say DMT must call you. There's a lot of interesting stories about DMT. Some people are told by the DMT, because it will talk to you, that no, you're not ready. You're not allowed in. There are also people who get kicked out of DMT land, and they're told by DMT, get out. And then they can't get back in. They try to take it and have the trip, and they can't get back in. Like, it won't work. Of course, from a more conventional perspective, they say, oh, maybe it's some kind of tolerance buildup or something. But very weird stories. And it's usually people who abuse it. Like, people doing it too much will be told, no. Like, you're kicked out. Yeah, you could try. If you're not in California and they don't have casinos, so you're not going to get any money, I don't think they're like being as much as soup Nazis about people wanting to join, because people, if there's no money, then people aren't trying to join to get the money, and they're more honest about why they're trying to join. But yeah, you know, it's time to go. I got most of the stuff. There's a few I can save up for next week. So all right, people, well, good talking. Thanks for coming. You know the drill. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.